your imagination lead. In a world where the demands of the internet are ever more consuming for the artist, there's a real risk of forgetting to take time to be imaginative. Let's get back to some of the daydreaming roots of our work. How you doing? Welcome to Music Industry City's Monday Kickoff, where we offer up important tips for a successful career and get you motivated for the week ahead. I'm Peter Schwing, and joining me today is my co-host, Aisha Damo. The Duke has the week off. If there's something like to chime in about, join us in the chat or leave a comment below. So, normally we said, Aisha, I just saw the playback here delayed. It's hysterical, so I'm just going to kick right over to you. What's going on? That was.
Hey.
Oh my God!
You like the fish face?
That was good. I
Is the
like
fish
that.
face a keeper?
Yes, it is. We're going to make that. We are going to make that the thumbnail.
Awesome. I'm about it. I'm here for it.
All about it. So yes, we're going to make that the official thumbnail now. So, how was your weekend?
Excellent. It's good. It's good. I'm just in a wild space, doing the thing and thinking about some of the stuff I'm going to talk about today of like what it all means as we're moving into going back to normal. And, I've just been like cocooning a little bit more, just taking the imaginative space with me and taking the opportunity to, just do a little walk around and do a little, noodle on the guitar and do things that I might not normally do, not in front of screens. So, yeah.
Not in front of screens, not like on a audio chat platform. Kind of, it's funny. We were away from people. Then we found Zoom meetings. We got Zoom burnout. Then we found Clubhouse and now the other audio apps, and now people are already tired of that. It's like, oh, I'm tired of dealing with people already, and they haven't even really been back out. And you're gonna have like the people. It's gonna be like, it's fun that like when we get out, it's like people are gonna be like, oh, I don't want to deal with people. I'm just gonna go home. I'm used to it. And I just want to say hi to Don. Don, hey, what's up there, Don? Yes, you are allowed to ask questions. We're gonna
Hey,
have
Don.
yeah. Aisha is going to be going over, we're going to be talking about letting your imagination lead. And we're going to let you just ride with that in just a second. So, so you've been trying to get your imagination, creativity going. That's not just your normal thing. It's like something that opens up the mind to new experiences, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, a lot of it, like in the acting training, like in Meisner training, there's a lot of time allowed for you to daydream, and it's considered a really important part of, especially the first year process of daydreaming, what scenarios and things that affect you, and just like kind of marinating in all that, and so taking the time for those things as artists, it's really a staple of how creativity has worked. I think at least prior to the year 2000 when, things started to kick over into us being on the internet all the time. And I think for good work to happen, we really need to re-embrace all those imaginative moments. So that's what I guess I'm just going to go into it, huh?
I said
as
I'm
we
like you were going, so I was just like, take it away.
I'm just going, it's happening. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what's up. We often discuss this on this show and there are a lot of promotional demands on the artists these days, like with all the social media platforms and the push to make yourself famous before a record label or a manager or any other PR person will step in to help. This is, the onus of this is kind of on the artist now. And while that does sometimes provide avenues of opportunity, it also provides a lot of burden. that wouldn't otherwise be there. And it takes away, I think, from the time that we have to devote to the daydreaming process, to the creative, inventive process. Sometimes it has to dawn on you, like, out of nowhere. So, in these few weeks, with things beginning to open up post COVID in the US, there's this additional tension in the air because it feels like we're coming to the close of this event that was a tiny bit of an equalizer due to everyone in entertainment being home and having to use their own resources to create. And also the time availability and, somewhat generous feelings of many gatekeepers who would otherwise be totally inaccessible. And it feels like a bit like, watching the last grains of sand, trickle through an hourglass with nothing left to do but scramble to save what you can. There's a little bit of that feeling right now, I know, for a lot of artists that I've talked to. And all of this, it's easy to lose sight of some of the, traditionally valuable artists' work that I was talking about, the work of the imagination, the work of daydreaming, and perhaps we need to revive those things again. And some of us, I think, during this pandemic have, revisited those places because we had the time to take that walk in the woods, to, go on that journey of daydreaming or staring at the ceiling. And that's a really necessary thing. It's the bedrock, I think, of what creatives, whether they were, novelists or theater makers or music artists did prior to Y2K. So, some of us during this pandemic had moments of being reminded of the value of taking time for the imaginative process. And I would say not a moment too soon because we don't want to lose that. And I think sometimes we're on the verge of losing that. Imagination is a vital part of the development of our minds as children. And I dare say that the bifurcation between those who color outside the lines and those who draw inside them and outside the lines camp is where the real artists live. So in a world cluttered with screen time, so cluttered with all these apps and things that we have to do to be artists, it's and urgent that we not lose sight of our capacity for this type of imagination, the imagination that happens outside the lines and outside of bounds. And I know that as artists trying to navigate this industry that, demands anything but that facility, it's easy to forget that the invention of excellence even matters. But it does matter. And I think that during this pandemic, some of us were reignited in, the understanding of how much it can matter, if not to the zeitgeist around us, at least to us as individuals. And, it might mean, noodling on that instrument a little bit. It might mean taking a walk. It might mean writing in a journal. It might mean, writing a poem that you've not done, for years. But whatever it is, it happened to us during this pandemic in moments. I think we need to keep that going as we open up, as we, get back into the rat race full time. So this week, I just want to encourage all of the artists out there to not give up on making the time and space in your life for imagination, for daydreaming, for investing in something that is frankly outside of the values of the moment. You don't have to drop the ball entirely on what's being asked of you by the world and by this industry. Or, hey, maybe you do. And maybe that's going to create something, wonderful and great. But I think for many of us, it's just finding a balance to reignite that real creativity and bring it into the picture. So I can't wait to see what you come up with. And I know I'm going to be integrating some of this into my life as we move forward. And I hope we can make more great and wonderful things. And that's what I got for this week.
Right on. Yeah. It's, one of the things that I think takes away from a lot of this imagination and creativity is the platforms. What we
Mm.
have, like with all the social platforms and everything rolling out a new, it's like, oh, here's something new, here's something new, here's something new. And it's like, where do you begin to figure out what you want to be doing? You have to learn it. So as a musician, it's like, well, I'm working on my music, I'm working on my production, and then it's like, oh, there's this new thing that'll help me get more fans or followers, or uh, Twitter just added tip jars to, so they have spaces now, so you could have people come in a room together, and then you can have tip jars in there, and and again, it's like all these different things. It's like, but you keep getting caught up in the fact of like, oh, here's something new I have to learn. Here's something new. I don't have time to be creative when I'm trying to just figure out how I'm doing it, is what a lot of people are complaining
Exactly.
about.
Yep, 100%. I mean, learning all these things is a vocation in itself. I mean, to learn the algorithms, to learn what each app wants from you and what's going to work on it and what the audience is there, that's a whole science of its own. So doing all that, it leaves very little time, for this imaginative creative process, or even for like just playing your instrument and making music, recording things, like those kinds of basics. So we have to, I don't know, there's a lot of distraction out there, and it's so hard to know, where to invest, your time in an app or whatever to see what's going to hit. It's so hard to know, and or if you've missed the curve, that's going to actually help you with that. And I just think the one thing that is true is the creative process and is the imaginative process, even if nobody else cares. Um, and yet, you also want, people to care. I mean, I am like CEO of being the tree falling in the forest with no one there to hear it. So take it from me. Like, you do want people to care, but how do you balance it? You have to just consciously say, I'm going to do some of this too. And I'm also going to do that, but I'm going to do some of this. And this is, my sanctuary, my temple for this part of the creative process.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that's, they say, oh, just get it out there, just get it out there. Yes, get it out there. Like, go and do something. Like, all for just getting it
Yeah.
done, trying it out. You never know what's going to happen. And then there's that saying, it's like, throwing the spaghetti against the wall, see what sticks. It's like, well, yeah, that's one strategy. But with social media, it's like, each platform is different. So, for instance, we are live streaming right now. Is this better for Twitch or for YouTube or for Facebook? Does it matter which platform we're on for a live stream? Or if we were to do a show, it's like, hey, I'm just going to create a video on how to do this, and maybe we should have a different discussion. But I don't want to live stream it because it has to be produced in a different way. But that'll make for a great YouTube piece. And then you have to like balance this out. It's like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, but which platform? TikTok? They're saying now like TikTok is the new music industry in a sense. I just saw an article saying like you have to really go all in on TikTok because they are offering other creator tools. So there is all these different areas. And so it's like if you've been on Twitter, doubling down on Twitter, or you're on Clubhouse, or you've been on Instagram, and all of a sudden you hear, oh, TikTok is where you're supposed to be. By the time you hear that, you've already missed that wave. And so now you have that
Mm-hmm.
other challenge of trying to cut through the noise. And it's like, how much more effort can be into driving one way? Or do you say, I'm just going to stay in my lane over here and do this and focus on that? So you get away from being creative and, that whole daydreaming. You can sit there and daydream of being a TikTok star, but you still have to get in and do that grind.
Yeah, and well, on top of that, like what you're saying, pretty much today, I think TikTok added the option to promote your posts, and we know what that is. That is the grim mofo reaper
Hmm.
showing up, and you know what it means. You know what it means that that natural engagement is going to go away progressively from this point, and that's what it is. So, yeah. There you
And
have it.
they're all, it's, there's got to be a completely new platform coming out in the next year that is going to change everything. Not maybe in the year, 18 months. There's got to be something that comes out that changes everything, that is going to be pieces of all of them, because all the social platforms are also saying, well, hey, they're doing that over there, so let's incorporate that into our platform. And it's
Mm-hmm.
different, and it's not the authentic, it doesn't have the authenticity. It doesn't translate when Facebook tries to have every platform built in, but people are still going to use it because of the ecosystem. So it's like you try to escape, but you get drawn back in because they keep on adding all these tools. But people want to break free. But then there's the area of like starting that kind of app, and great, now we need to make money. Clubhouse, $4 billion valuation. They need to start making money sometime soon. So how are they going to do that? Sponsored, there's going to be all this different stuff, and then it's going to be, well, we need more people on the platform because we have to show our investors. So it's like always like that. In Clubhouse for right now, if you go to hit the explore button, it sorts it. Everything is in a descending order of people in the room. Now, there could be a room in there with 10 people that could be actually the best room for you, which has like super focused, laser focused information for your career, and you're not getting there because you're not going to scroll down. You're like, I don't want to go in that room. There's only 10 people in there, but I'm going to go in this one other room with 800 people in there, and they're all talking about shit. They're just yapping away, and people are like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in this. I'm going to hang out. Oh, and then one person says one
Yep.
thing, and you just wasted an hour of your time in that room. So that's now a Clubhouse issue. And it happens
Truly.
like that on
Like,
all the
yeah, I'm
platforms.
interested to see how that goes. I really like Clubhouse too.
Yeah.
So I hope they sort it out because it does need some sorting.
Oh, it needs a lot of sorting, but I hope it succeeds. I mean, these type of things, and there's the fireside chat, there's Twitter Space, there's Discord. I mean, where's your community? Like, be creative with your community. I mean, be imaginative. Like, go to your community, and it's like, I'm thinking about things, and you can talk to them. If you're on Twitch, great, you have your community there. If your community is Instagram, ask your community, because you might not know where else your community is. Get creative.
Well, but also that question, where is your community? Like, I mean, in some ways, I feel like I haven't quite found it yet. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know where my community is. And like, I've used many of these apps. Like, I think for most artists, finding your community at all is kind of a miracle.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
You
that
out
is the
there.
biggest challenge. So, yeah, but find your wherever your small community is and double down and see what you can do together, I guess. It's it's one of those areas that it's tough. It is. There's, people have recipes and tips and tricks and suggestions, and some of them are good. They're like consistency. Being consistent on a platform is very important. Uh, and being able to engage, that's very important. So there's a couple things like that, but you never know what's going to hit.
Truly.
So
Truly.
get imaginative and just come up with stuff and try it out. Boom.
Yes.
And there it
Daydream
is.
that.
Right on. All right, so we're gonna wrap up. Thank you, Aisha. I we are going to make that the thumbnail. I need to do something with
Do
my
it.
background. I need to do something like swirly and really cool and something. So I'm going to get imaginative and like do something with my background instead of this plain blue. I like it, it's the spotlight stuff, but I want to come up with maybe some 3D weird stuff.
Yes.
Right on. All right. Well, and that is going to be it for today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe, like, whatever the button is that you can do. And you can follow us, and you can find out more at musicindustrycity.com. And once again, thank you to Aisha Adamo, and we will see you next week. Cheers.